Good afternoon. I'm Heather Jones, manager of the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, or LIHEAP, in the state of Missouri. Today I'm going to talk about using data to target energy assistance to vulnerable households. Over the last 6 years, the number of households served by the LIHEAP program in Missouri has decreased. From 2014 to 2019, the number of households who received regular energy assistance to help pay their bills decreased from about 140,000 to 96,000. This decrease in households served outpaced the decline in the number of eligible households. At the same time, households who received energy crisis assistance through our LIHEAP program increased. As the program, we want to reach eligible households before they face an energy crisis. So all things being equal, we wanted households coming in to receive regular energy assistance rather than crisis assistance. Targeted outreach is one method to encourage eligible households to apply for regular energy assistance. But what type of outreach into which groups of eligible households would be most effective? A few months into the current program year, we looked at the volume of applications received for regular energy assistance and noticed that the applications were down about 7% compared to last year. We also determined that there was at least $6 million in additional funding available that could be used for regular energy assistance. Initially, we planned to spend $30 million on the regular energy assistance in 2020, but based on the application rate in January, we projected to spend $26 million. In addition, at the time, Missouri received an additional $2 million more in funding than was anticipated at the start of the year. Since our midwinter analysis, even more funding is available due to the final block grant allocation from the federal government and additional funding from the CARES Act. These funds present additional opportunities to serve eligible households in Missouri. But the rest of the analysis is going to focus on an outreach proposal we developed resulting from our midwinter analysis. Before we decided on which households to target with outreach, we took a look at our data and examined how the program has served key vulnerable groups over the past several years. When we looked at the participation rate of eligible households, that is, how many households were served divided by the population that is eligible to receive assistance, we see different trends for different groups. The overall participation rate for all eligible households decreased from about 28% served in 2014 to 22% served in 2019. There were no major changes in the participation rate among households with elderly members aged 60 years or older, but they served at a slightly lower rate than all eligible households. The participation rate among households with disabled members decreased from about 34% to 28%, but the population was still targeted because they were served at a greater rate than all eligible households. Finally, the participation rate among households with young children age 5 or under decreased the most, from 30% to 20%. Accordingly, eligible households with young children or elderly member are groups to focus our outreach efforts going forward. So how can we target outreach to specific groups like eligible households with young children or elderly member? One way is to utilize the data we have available from other programs in our agency. LIHEAP is administered by the Department of Social Services in Missouri. DSS also administers programs that serve households with young children, elderly members, and disabled members who are likely to be eligible for LIHEAP. Using our information technology systems, we were able to identify clients from other DSS programs targeted at key vulnerable populations who had not already applied for LIHEAP during the current program year. For example, in our child care program, we identified 8,780 clients who had not participated in LIHEAP. Using this information, we developed an outreach proposal intended to increase the participation in our regular energy assistance program and target assistance to key vulnerable households. In the outreach proposal, we decided to focus on clients in TANF child care and those receiving SNAP who are 65 years or older, and to mail them a paper application and information on LIHEAP. We selected SNAP clients who were over 65 years or older instead of SNAP clients with children under 6 because there were so many SNAP clients with children under 6, it could be overwhelming to the agencies that process these applications. Together, clients served in the selected programs, but not by LIHEAP, totaled nearly 40,000 households. The cost to mail the LIHEAP applications to these households was about $19,500. With an application return rate of 50 to 75%, we estimate to serve an additional 15,000 to 23,000 households and spend an additional $4.4 million to $6.2 million on regular energy assistance within the range of funding available. And the outreach is focused on key vulnerable groups. We anticipate that our targeting of households with elderly member and young children will increase as a result. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation on using data to target energy assistance to vulnerable populations. This presentation and other resources are made available to you on the LIHEAP Performance Management website. Before I close, I'd like to point out some other resources, including access to previous data case studies from the Performance Management Implementation Workgroup, or PMIWG, access to the LIHEAP Data Warehouse, which includes data reports by grantees on households served, use of funds, energy burdens, and the eligible population, access to other performance management training tools developed by grantees. You can also submit questions about this presentation or request assistance on how to use your own data for performance management. For more information, please visit the case studies page on the LIHEAP Performance Management website. Thank you.